Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 82 of the On-Air Advocate, where at the On-Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On-Air Advocate, and I am super excited that you are joining us here this Friday evening, or whether you are catching this on the replay. Now, as you know, if you feel that any of the content that we're talking about tonight could be relevant, helpful for anyone in your network, circle, family, please hit the share button and share the love. Now, if all of you have been following this last week, we kicked off yesterday our cerebral palsy awareness series. And so with that, I am super excited to have Tylia Flores here. She is an author as well as a cerebral palsy advocate. Hello, Tylia.
Hi, thanks for having me, Tammy. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, and it's an honor and a blessing to have you here. And I cannot wait for you to share your story and your journey with our audience, because it is a pretty inspirational, amazing one. You're an amazing young lady. And so, Tylia, can you take us through the beginning as to when you got diagnosed with, cerebral palsy and how that journey began for you?
Well, I was first diagnosed at the age of 2 years old, and I was born in New York, and I was only weighing 2 pounds, 3 ounces. Doctor said I wouldn't make it past 24 hours. Doctors basically told my mom at the time, don't expect her to live because she's not going to. And here I am 23 years later, after doctor said I would never walk, I would never talk, I would never be able to amount to anything, and I am here today sharing my story. So there's that.
You're going to get me crying already. Look at you. And we just started. So you made it through that beginning, those past that 24 hours, and clearly you are talking, doing many things, having extreme abilities in many ways. And so you're in the ICU, and obviously you can't remember yourself. So stories from, your parents at that point. What kind of came next?
Well, what kind of came next after I went home was the fact that my teenage mom had to accept the fact that I had the disability because she was all by herself. Like, my biological father wasn't in the picture whatsoever, so she had to do it on her own, and I commend her because anybody in that position at her age would have just gave up. And my mother's just so strong, and she's my biggest advocate, and I love her for being so strong. So.
Oh my goodness. And so she was by your side every step of the way, had to accept and learn all of this, right? Because she didn't get the actual diagnosis until you were 2. So you were born at a very low birth weight. And were you born early? You said you were born at 2 pounds, some ounces, but were you born premature?
Yes, I was supposed to be born actually October 7th, and I was born July 7th.
Okay.
So
you were born a few months early.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously you were in the NICU and had to gain weight and had to regain all those things. So she didn't really find out till you were 2. And then when she found out, has she shared with you at all some of that journey, like when you were 2 years old and her finding out and not really knowing? Did she know much about it?
No, she never even heard of it before she met me. When she had me, she never knew anything about cerebral palsy. All she tells me was that was the saddest day of her life, because from what she tells me, the doctors put her in a room, and nobody was with her, and they explained to her everything negative about cerebral palsy, and that's when she just says, "Well, what do I do?"
Right. And so, well, obviously she moved forward with strength.
Yeah, she's a strong warrior.
Mm-hmm. She was a mom on a mission after that, trying to figure out exactly all the ins and outs of this, right? And learn all about cerebral palsy.
And then later on, when I was 5, she met my stepdad, and I call him dad now. So we're all a happy blended family.
That is awesome.
And
That is awesome.
he's strong too with me. Like he always pushes me to be better and greater, and he just accepted it.
Right.
And he never allowed it to stop me. He was a part of my softball ball team. He was involved in every single sport that I was in. I played basketball, he was there for that. Softball, he was there for that. He may be a little bit tough on me sometimes when I need it, but I love him. So, and my stepbrother too. So
And so for all of those younger years from 5 on, you were definitely pushed by a family that loved you and believed that you were going to do all those things that the doctors said that you were not going to do, and you were going to thrive, and you have. And so during that time, from, like, let's say 5 till we get to grade school, high school, all of that, in between that time, was there anything with your CP that you remember being like just a really a revolving, like a change, like you went in, did any sickness develop, did anything happen in between that period of time, or was it more you just obviously growing and being pushed and doing therapy and getting stuff done for yourself?
I did go to physical therapy, and I did have multiple surgeries within that span of time, but mostly my teachers and everybody in the schools were supportive of me. I was the only one in special ed in second grade that could read, and by third grade I was in mainstream classes.
Nice. And for your surgeries, were those directly in correlation with you having CP?
Yes, I had a hip surgery done because my hip got dislocated. So they put the metal plate in and they took it out. But unfortunately, it didn't work. So now my hip's dislocated again, but that doesn't stop me from living my life. I just hope that in the future that they have more technology to prevent hips from being dislocated with cerebral palsy, and I hope that doctors could find the tools to fix it, because that's what we need. We
Mm-hmm.
don't need negativity. Like, I'm still thankful for the doctors that made the effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm
Yes.
not I'm not mad at them because at the time they did the best they could do. But I just hope they learned and expand their minds from the mistakes that they made.
Within surgical procedures and things
Within
like that.
surgeries, yes.
Now, are you able to walk at all, or are you completely wheelchair bound?
I'm completely wheelchair bound. I'm considered the most severe cerebral palsy, which I consider that to be one of the biggest misconceptions ever when it comes to doctors diagnosing people with cerebral palsy. They would consider me the more severe, and to me it's like, just because I'm in a wheelchair doesn't mean I'm severe. Yes, I may not be able to do certain things, but I'm able to adapt to my world and see things in a different way and do things in a different way.
Which sometimes in our world today is a blessing, isn't it? To be
Yeah,
able to see things through different eyes.
it is a blessing. I just wish that society would be less colorblind
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to people with disabilities. I mean, just because we have handicap accessible places and handicap ramps and handicap bathrooms doesn't mean that the job is over of us fighting for our rights. Like,
Right.
even in schools, you don't hear you hear stories about Martin Luther King and advocacy, but you don't hear stories about advocates with disabilities that fought for our rights to have ramps on a school bus.
Right. Right. You are so right. You are so right. And it needs to change.
It does. I mean, I look at the public school system today, and I'm like, man, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and That's why by the 10th grade, my parents decided to homeschool me because I had a great year. I had great years in middle school. I had met my favorite teacher in the whole wide world, Pamela Van Horn, and she's also a character in my first book.
Is she?
And she impacted my life. Like when I was failing science, I never forget this. She decided to tutor me in her planning time, and within that year, I got academic excellence in science.
That's amazing.
And that is something that I'm forever grateful for.
What do you think has to change so that individuals with different abilities get recognized more, and the efforts and the things that we need changed and the growth we need, like in our schools and everything? Do you think it's that everybody needs to step up and be using their voice more? What do you
I also think that too, but I also think that people need to be more aware and more positive around their family members of people with disabilities, because I've seen like a lot of my friends families, some of them, they don't really have positive family. They weren't really blessed with what I had. So with that, it just takes the parents to accept the child's disability and accept what the child can and cannot do, and they'll be fine. Same thing with society. It all starts with what you're taught in society.
Right. And a lot of that is that if we don't make people aware of things, sometimes when people don't understand things, what happens?
They
Sometimes
assume. They assume. Like,
right, they assume things. And I think that sometimes that's even where bullying and things like that come from, is that people aren't knowledgeable in whether it's a medical condition or a disorder of some kind or a different ability. And so it scares them. And so instead of them asking the question and learning about it, they use negativity to come back in recourse.
I agree. And that, I don't know if you read my article on the Mighty on how reaching out to my long lost biological father changed my views on spreading awareness for cerebral palsy, because he doesn't really understand cerebral palsy. He doesn't get it. He doesn't want to get it. And on my 18th birthday, he sent me a text that changed my life forever, that made me realize that I need to start spreading awareness on my condition because of people like him.
And what did he send you? Can you tell our audience?
Okay, he sent me a text saying that my mom dropped me on the floor and that's why my legs were broken. And I'm like, huh?
So you knew that ignorance there of someone not knowing, like, we need to make people aware of why things happen and about different conditions. Yes. And I think that if we can provide people with the knowledge, like you being on this show today and you sharing your story, what you've done, what doctors have told you, but people seeing that, I mean, you're an author. I'm not an author. You're an author, girl. You got your own website. You're doing it. And people can see that even though you have a different ability, doesn't mean you don't have abilities. You have rock star abilities.
Thank you.
And so I want to take the folks, though, I know we talked a little bit about off the air, onto that journey. You've gone through obviously all your elementary school and you're heading into high school. And what were some of the challenges and things that you faced when you headed into high school?
Well, one of the challenges that I faced was that one, it's high school. People are going to, especially my freshman year, one, it's high school, kids are going to be mean. But two, I had the struggle of losing my friend to cancer. After 10 years, we were friends for 10 years. We met through United Cerebral Palsy. We lost contact. We reconnected via MySpace. Who remembers those days?
My oldest daughter got on MySpace and she did it secretly when she was 13 and she got grounded.
Oh,
That's what happened. But
yeah,
that's how you guys, yes, because that was a long time ago. That was
that
like
was
24 years ago that MySpace came out, 25 years ago.
yeah, MySpace, and me and him started talking again, and it was like the friendship rekindled. But shortly after, he got diagnosed with a brain tumor, and then slowly it started progressing, and then he passed away.
He also had cerebral palsy.
Yes, and he had the brain tumor.
And so did the cancer come from, were those correlated together or completely separate conditions?
Those were completely separate conditions, but what I found out from doing my research is that people with cerebral palsy are most likely to get cancer, and women are most likely to get breast cancer.
Really?
Yes.
That is an interesting statistic.
Mm-hmm.
And so you started high school and your friend who you had reconnected with passes away with cancer,
Mm-hmm.
which we're going to talk about that a little bit further later with your book. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But what were some of the experiences you had with your peers, in the student body within school?
Well, basically, I was the social butterfly. I was in drama club. Everybody loved me. I did a couple of solos. I actually did Sandra D from Greece, and I did Rent as well.
Really?
Um,
But did you find that all of the student body was kind, or did you find that there was bullying and things like that going on within school?
it would, uh, I mean, it was. I would say it's in between.
Okay. So you found that some of the student body was very nice and was very accepting, and some not as much.
Not as much, but it was mainly the teachers that were not accepting.
The teachers weren't very accepting?
Yeah. So
Really?
that was
What?
where it was reversed.
Can you explain that to me
Well,
a little
well,
bit?
the teachers, they would kind of pick on me a little bit because of my condition.
Really? That's not good.
I actually had one of the teachers accuse me of cheating on a test that I actually studied for. She
You said that you actually studied for. Sometimes did you not study?
I studied all the time.
Oh, you did.
I was a straight A student until I got into my freshman year.
Oh, and then it seemed so high school seemed with your friend passing as well as just all the different angles with teachers and whatnot to be a little bit more of a struggle. Would you say that was your hardest time?
Yes, that was my hardest time, but I was also trying to find myself as well, like any 15-year-old. You go through puberty, you get into boys, but
Always.
top that off with having a condition.
Right, right. And during that time, is that when the whole website author book kind of came together, Stomping on Cerebral Palsy? When did that all take place within
Well,
that
it's
time frame?
funny because I had my website way before Stomping on CP ever became a thing.
Okay.
But my website was angled to what a teen girl talked about. And I would just talk about Justin Bieber and any typical girl because I wasn't accepting of my disability at that time.
Okay. So when do you feel that you came to embrace your disability?
When I was 16, 17, 18, around there, because I would have online friends, but I would hide the fact that I had a disability.
Oh,
Through a
okay.
website that I was on called The N, which is now teenage.com, and I would create my avatar to look totally opposite from me. Like, she had blonde hair, she was looking like Hillary Duff. And it helped, it was a mask, but then one day I realized I need to be truthful with myself and I need to accept the fact that I have this disability.
Right. And that came between that 16 to 18 year age mark?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then Stomping on Cerebral Palsy with Tylia came when I was 20.
Okay, so that came. So, but what about your book? Take
That
when was
came
What
That
age?
came I started writing it when I was 15. But then when I was 16, it got published. And I'll tell you the story on how that came about. One day, my stepdad was like, who I call dad, he was like, "Do you want to go on Barnes and Noble and look at some books?" And I'm drinking a Starbucks Frappuccino, the vanilla bean, and I have whipped cream, and it was good. But then when I went to the teen fiction section, I pictured myself signing books. And then I came home, I opened up my word processor, and I started writing the first sentence to James Ticking Time Bomb. And my mom's like, "I like that. You should keep working on it."
And then a year later, it became a published book.
So there you have it.
And can you give a little snapshot? So the book is called James Ticking Time Bomb. We're going to drop that link below later. But what was that book about, that first book you wrote?
Okay, so it starts off like this. James Crimson is a teen father with cancer, and he's trying to figure out what to do before his time runs out. Mind you, his son Noah has mild cerebral palsy, and he lives with his foster mother Pamela, and he's just trying to navigate through life before, the end.
Okay. And that book was inspired by your friend who passed away.
Yes, that was inspired by my friend Daniel that passed away.
Okay. And you wrote the book, you kind of started to find yourself a little bit, but do you feel like you really didn't come into your full self of acceptance until you were about 20?
Yes, that I would say.
Okay.
That's when I wrote, because I was working on a second book for a while, and it just wasn't clicking. And then I'm like, maybe I should go on Facebook and share my story on a couple of sites. And that's when I realized I need to start spreading awareness on my disability, on what makes me me.
Right. Because your story can change other people's lives as well. Seeing you as an inspiration and a role model for others that have gone through the same struggles that you have. So I love that you have done that. So when you were 20, then you put together kind of like a new logo and look, and your website and t-shirts, you said.
Yes,
too.
and t-shirts. So I had to rebrand myself as a person from what the teen girl talks about all the way to now I'm a grown woman and I want to advocate for my condition, and there you have it.
And you are currently, so that others, you're currently in school, right? And you're doing more, you said a technical, right? A technical college?
Yes, a technical.
Certification. And so do you have like a year left of that, or when do you finish that?
When I complete all the courses, which would take me another year or so. But
Okay.
I've already graduated from 2 classes, and one was start of the creative fiction, the other one was how to write a song, actually 3, and one was to teach English online because I want to start tutoring kids in China.
That sounds phenomenal.
To
And such a great way to utilize your talents.
learn English. Because I feel like having a voice is powerful.
Now, you are currently working on a second book, right? I was trying to get information before the show about it, but she wasn't giving me much information. So can you tell me a little bit about what the book might be about?
Romance.
It's a romance. Okay.
Disability rights. That's all I'm going to get into right now.
Okay, so she's just dropping little hints for us, and we're going to have to stay tuned to all of that. So since you have come into embracing you, all of you, exactly the perfect way that God made you, what have you done from this point in building more awareness and advocating for CP, kind of what steps have you taken? Obviously, your website speaks for itself and telling your story, but actively, are there different support groups or different organizations you work with?
Well, in Central Florida, there's not many organizations for people like me,
Okay.
like for people with cerebral palsy, but I am working on something, like putting a social group together for for young adults like myself, because I feel like when it comes to having organizations with cerebral palsy, they all like to put us in one category. It's like we're a school of fish, and not everybody with cerebral palsy is the same. This
Right.
person could be nonverbal, that person could be verbal, and I just want a place where I could have friends and have a good time and we could all spread awareness in a happy and healthy way.
Right. In a positive manner.
I mean, Facebook has been a big help with all the tools that we have, because that's how me and you connected, and that's how I connect with all my contributing writing friends that have CP and that write for the mighty. But if it weren't for Facebook, then
Right. So really, we need to start advocating for that as well, because I don't think that the public really knows, unless they're going through it themselves, how alienating it is when you have different medical conditions, either yourself or even for those that are caring for those that may have severe conditions of different kinds, that it can be very, alienating and feeling alone, like you don't have a lot of different outreach. Right. And so you starting something would really help that.
I mean, and it's crazy because I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and there's more things that you have. You have the Challenger baseball. You have the Challenge Air, where I got to co-pilot an airplane at 12 years old.
Oh my gosh. But just right now, where you live in Florida, there isn't as many services.
There aren't as many services, and to be honest, it's disappointing,
Mm-hmm.
because at this point, we cerebral palsy is the most common condition for adults, for children, and at this point, there should be something.
Right. Because you were saying, so 17 million individuals have cerebral palsy
Worldwide.
worldwide.
It's a worldwide thing, and yet there's very little awareness about it. Like, in the past week, I've been watching TV and I haven't heard nothing about World CP Day, and I've reached out to news outlets and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. If you walk into Dick's Sporting Goods, all they're gonna have is breast cancer awareness stuff
Right.
and cancer awareness stuff. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but at least show us some love.
Mm-hmm.
Crying out loud, you got the White House that turns blue in April for autism, but what about
Right.
us that want to see the White House go green for Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month in March?
Right. Right. Is that there are so many things, and really, I don't, even myself, I don't know who gets to pick that. Who
I
gets to
try.
pick what things are more important than not. I know that, and now I got all emotional from you talking again, but I love that, Tylia, so thanks. Thanks for making me cry.
You're
um,
welcome.
I appreciate it. But it is just astonishing to me to think, like, when I have talked to individuals that have childhood cancer, and to know that only 4% of funding goes to actually kids with cancer.
And that's another thing that I would get into too, because I had a friend that that had cancer, and it was, even though his parents were in the military, it was hard for them, and to think that they only get 4%.
And that's divided up. People don't even realize that. That's divided up amongst all the types for kids. So they get 4%. And so, like, DIPG, which is the rarest and the most deadly form of cancer for kids, it's inoperable and it's incurable. It gets like 1.2%
And
of funding.
that's something I never got.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense for something like this with CP. There's 17 million people in the world that have it. More people should know. There should be more awareness. Even in my own research, realizing that there are multiple types of cerebral palsy. It's a neurological condition. It can affect one side of your body, another side of your body. All of it can affect your brain. All of those different things. I think that individuals like yourself, Tylia, you need to bring those to the forefront using your voice and continuing to do that.
I plan to.
Yeah.
Well, I reached out to the President of the United States. I reached out to my senator and my colleagues and all the politicians, and the only response I got was from Bill Nelson. And he's running for Senate against Rick Scott. And I just feel like it's sad that only one person responded.
Mm-hmm. Because what happens in our society is that if someone isn't impacted by it from a family member, a friend, somebody they know that has it, or if they're not living it with them themselves, people go on with their lives. They go on with their lives and they don't take 2 seconds to think. And that's why advocates and all of us that drive awareness need to be there to tell people and show them what's really going on. Because if they're not living it and then we're not waving flags telling them about it, they probably don't know about it.
I mean, look at Lizzie Vasquez.
What happened with her? Tell me about that.
The girl with the rare syndrome. I don't know if you've seen her documentary on Amazon Prime, but she has a rare syndrome, and she spreads awareness on it, and she's one of the people I look up to.
Because she's out there every day putting stuff out there to the world. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we all need to continue doing. And I think you said to me earlier when we were chatting that, is it every 30 seconds you said that someone is diagnosed with CP?
Mm-hmm.
So every 30 seconds. Okay, so you guys, I got my green shirt out. We have to figure out what's going to light up green, go green, get some green nail polish on, do something. So what are active ways that people can get involved? Tomorrow is World Cerebral Palsy Day. What are ways that you can encourage people to get involved?
Well, for one, wear green. For two, go to any nonprofit organization like United Cerebral Palsy, volunteer, and get involved with people like us, because you never know. You could become inspired.
Get involved or make a donation.
And also throw a pie in somebody's face, because that's the challenge.
Is there a hashtag for that? Is there like a hashtag pie throw in face challenge?
I think it's hashtag pie challenge for CP.
Okay, you're going to have to drop all of these ideas and these things in the comment after we're off of this live so people know and they can figure out all the different things that they're going to do. So, Tylia, before we wrap up, I want you to just let the audience know if they want to learn more about your book, keep up with you to see what's going to come with your new book that's coming out, to get a Stomping on CP shirt from you or any of those other things that you have put together, where can they do that at? How can they get those things?
Well, you can always connect with me via Facebook at Stomping on Cerebral Palsy with Tylia, or you can shoot me an email via my website, or you can go to my website, www.tyliaflores.com, where I write content for you guys.
Okay, and then what about, are you able to drop your link for your book below?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay. And the t-shirts.
Yes, I will get that too, because you guys are going to look on fleek with these shirts.
Yes, and I need one because like I told you yesterday, I wore that sweater and it was so hot. So I need another shirt. I need one of your shirts, Tylia. I need one. So I need you to drop that below for everyone. And organizations that you have worked with. So would you say that your main point of reference for anybody who's listening would be the United Cerebral Palsy?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's who they would reach out to. And in wrap up, do you have anything you would like to leave us with tonight that you'd like to say to the folks before we go?
Okay, I'm gonna get a little religious, but this is my favorite Bible verse. Matthew 16:19. With God, anything is possible.
That's right. It is. Oh, you're gonna get me crying again. I can't even talk. You should just take over the show, Tylia.
It's Friday. You're not supposed to cry on Fridays. You're supposed to open up a glass of wine and
No, but I don't drink, Tylia. I don't drink. So, no.
well, get a soda or
Drink some water and stuff. That's right. Through all things with God, with Christ, everything in life is possible. So, and you, Tylia, are living proof of that. So no matter what the obstacle is, you can face it, right?
Right. I just got to keep on stomping.
That's right. You got to keep on stemming. So if you guys want to keep up with Stomping on Cerebral Palsy and Tylia Flores, I want you guys to head over to her website. We're going to drop that below. I definitely want you guys to show some go green love to her, as well as everybody else who is fighting and, battling and having CP. Let's get out there and let's also advocate to try to get some lights green. And it's going to be Christmas. It's October. We should be able to find some green lights.
Yeah,
somewhere.
we should be able to.
They have them at the stores, right? They have them at the stores. So on that note, Tylia, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us and being here and making me cry. I thank you. I thank you for that because, like I told you, this show is not about me. It is about all of you that share your stories and are there to really inspire and to build awareness and to advocate for others. So thank you so much, my dear. And thank you all for watching tonight. You can visit all of our services as well as our YouTube videos, podcasts, etc. at onairadvocate.com at our website. Or if you would like to become part of our private group, you can head right up to the top of this Facebook page, right up at the top. She's got it. It is the blue button up there that says visit group. You can click that and you can head right into our private community. So on that, thank you again. And everybody, I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for throwing around green. I don't know what else. I got to find something else green for tomorrow morning. All right. I will see you guys then. Have a great Friday. Thank you, Tylia.
You're welcome. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.